we're one step closer to getting a real estate regulator. Earlier this week, a 21-member select committee tabled its report on the proposed regulator in the Rajya Sabha.
This bill will help to grow the good builders and at the same time fly-by-nights builders. You have nothing, no role, no employment, start brokering, become a broker. No sir, one should be broker with the technical background and one should be responsible for that.
And this committee has improved the proposed bill significantly from what had been approved by the cabinet earlier in 2015. Here's why. First up, the committee has said the interest rate payable by the builder and the buyer shall be the same in the eventuality of any default by either of them. The period from which the interest becomes due should also be made clear. Here's our editorial take. This would be a landmark change if accepted by Parliament. We all know of so many instances where builders offer compensation of only 5 to 10 rupees a square foot, even if projects are late by 3 years, 4 years or even 5 years, whereas the same builder levies a penalty of up to 18% interest if the buyer is late with an installment or sometimes just 15 days. The select committee suggestion would go a long way in correcting that disparity. After all, it's fair if both the buyer and the builder pay the same penalty in case of a default.
When you are saying that interest amount is equal, this is the natural law.
Right.
If I am charged with certain amounts, then I am entitled to have the same amount from the other party.
What is important is that you should have a transparency. The person who buys it should know exactly what he or she is getting. And I think that's the objective of the bill. So I don't see any problem on the disclosure issues as far as the law is concerned. The question then comes up that the responsibility is only on the developer. Today, most of the problems are created by government and local authorities. They are not sanctioning the plan. They're taking time over it and they are required to deliver the product on time. How are you going to do it? So it's quite ridiculous to say that you can only blame the developers when the government is an equal party to these issues.
I certainly support this view. We've actually followed the practice since we started our affordable housing business that it should be equitable on both sides. So our contracts already have to return to it. There's no reason why a developer should have an advantage over a customer or vice versa. And I certainly hope that it will create a more equitable transaction as an industry trend.
The Select Committee also deliberated the provision of builders keeping aside 50% of the advance received from customers in an escrow account. That committee suggested amendments as follows. Builders keep aside in a separate account 50% of the project cost. So that doesn't necessarily have to be a blanket 50% of the advance paid by buyers. The committee has said builders can tap into that separate account only to complete the project, and the quantum of funds withdrawn must be in proportion to the project completion. Builders will have to get that certified by a chartered accountant, an engineer and an accountant. This suggestion has been made to ensure builders don't divert funds for new land acquisition or to other projects and then later cite financial difficulties for not completing projects. The earlier proposal of keeping 50% of the customer advance sounds good on paper, but would have actually had an inflationary impact. Builders would have definitely hiked prices to make up for the money not being fungible and to make up for loss of interest.
People, those who collect money, they siphon that money to other projects. That's why we have secured this thing that no, construction for that project, construction amount should be secured. For that only we have kept this account.
I think the volume will come down, that's all, because the amount of money that is needed will be twice. If you have to lock up 50%, then the amount of turnover will become less. So I think the volume done by each of the builders will come down.
Let's suppose a developer takes a loan from, say, HDFC, right, against a particular phase of a project or for the whole project. In any case, all the proceeds are going into an escrow account, and you're basically paying your contractors and your bill of materials costs from that escrow account. So frankly, to us, it makes no difference at all. And you have a projected P&L that you give the bank, and as a consequence of that, you only draw down the surplus that you actually have in any case. So frankly speaking, I don't see how it makes any difference to an affordable housing project. However, for developers that are in the luxury space, I think it's a serious problem because the land cost is very high as a percentage of selling price, maybe 80%, 70%, 90% in some cases in Southern Mumbai, and the construction costs are very low. So I don't see how this is going to help them, because if you're going to have 50% of all proceeds coming in and being kept in an escrow account, it certainly will be difficult for people in the luxury space.
Many of the developers may say, we will not sell till the building is complete, for example, and we'll sell it when the building is ready. Why get into all these hassles of tomorrow somebody going to court and doing it? So I'll make less building, I'll complete it and then sell. So there may be a turnaround where many of the large corporates who have got financial strength will complete the buildings and then sell the product.
So while the new suggestion of keeping aside 50% of the project cost is an improvement over the earlier proposal of a blanket lock-in of 50% of the buyer's advance, even this new suggestion is likely to lead to builders raising prices. We understand from our sources this suggestion could be amended in the drafting stage of the Real Estate Regulator Act to make the lock-in of funds with the cost of building construction. The quantum, that is the percentage of the lock-in, may also vary for big and small cities. Another excellent suggestion of this committee is to clearly define carpet area and allow builders to charge buyers only for the carpet area. That definition is as follows. Carpet area means the net usable floor area of an apartment, excluding the area covered by external walls, areas under service shafts, exclusive balcony or veranda area, exclusive open terraces, but includes the area covered by the internal portion walls of the apartment, unquote. This would undoubtedly improve transparency and ban builders from adding hidden charges, be it for open space car parking, clubhouses, verandas, etc. It may result in builders hiking the price for carpet area, but at least the buyers will know exactly what they're paying for.
So at the end of the day, the developer looks at what's the total value that he or she is going to get out of that unit. And that's how then they work backwards and say what is the per square foot on built up or usable or carpet area. Ultimately, they are not going to give this free. So they're not going to give the balcony or the car park free. It will get priced in. So it will, on a per square foot basis, get priced in.
But there is one big area of disappointment, and that is the Select Committee not explicitly bringing the central government, state governments and municipalities under the ambit of the real estate regulator. This means consumers could continue to suffer with projects not being completed on time. Without doing so, there is no onus on any central or state government agency to provide approvals on time. And in addition to that, the alleged Babu Builder nexus will not be broken. The government at the center and the state level must be made accountable. The committee, though, has spoken of single window clearance mechanism, but experts are not convinced. Given the plethora of approvals that are needed, this seems like an impossible dream to achieve.
If we can get all the sanctions in time, the height clearances in time, the plinth certificate in time, the approvals for additional TDR and fungible in time, and those issues are really sorted out, and now there is extortion on the ground. Many areas you are not able to build, you are required to take supply from the local political people. Local people are wanting their contracts to be done. Costs are going up because of that reason. So, I mean, they will have to take care of a lot of other things in order to make affordable housing. So I am with you on transparency, but the issue on completion needs to be re-looked at, especially the authorities need to be empowered to tell the local authority, give the occupation certificate, etc.
I think a large part of the pain that current developers are actually feeling is the approval process. If you want to encourage large-scale stock creation in the affordable housing space, you're going to have a single window clearance system or a very time-bound fast-track system for affordable housing, no more than 90 days. And I believe that you will not be able to create stock of the value and the quantity that you need by 2022 unless it actually happens.
Well, the fate of the real estate regulator bill lies with the Rajya Sabha. We've been waiting for a regulator for over 10 years, and that wait is likely to get even longer as the monsoon session of Parliament till today has been a complete washout. We'll keep you updated on all the progress that is made or not made. For now, time for a short commercial break, but stay tuned. You all heard of that headline how Ambit has predicted a 50% crash in property prices. We'll tell you why Ambit says so. Stay tuned.
Yeah.